Alrighty! Fix everything in this bug immediately. Alright. Nothing happens at all. Alright, boys and girls. I can't see anything right now because I'm on a janky setup. I have no idea if you can actually hear me. Everything is coming through the Mac Pro. Oh my gosh. Glaciers of Alaska. Amired? That's because we have no microphone. Oh, hold on. There we go. We got a lot going on. All right. Number one is we got your boy who finally signed up. You can obviously see the live stream. He signed up. He's now a developer. I'm now creating a certificate so that yes. No. This needs to be downloaded to my Mac so I can open it up and I can use it in the Apple development program as a file. This still is not fixed as it's still asking me for my Claude subscription. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, when it rains, it pours. When it rains, it pours. I'm telling you right now. I might even just go over the news. When it rains, it pours. So I thought over this weekend, I'll just go into this because I can't see anything. I'll go into this. I can't see chat. So whatever you say, you say. And I got to reopen this. So this area, for whatever reason, is messing with the actual ADE. Okay? It's actually messing with it. I'm going to tell you this story. So on Friday, you noticed, obviously, there was a mini hiccup, to say the least. And I'm biking on Saturday. I'm probably into mile 40. And I see this guy. You're coming down this turn. You're on a bike path. On the left side, you got the bay. And it's a bike path, and you have, like, tumbleweeds and tumbleweeds. I patched the... It's still asking me for my Claude login. You need to debug this and stop asking me any questions about any of this. Send out 50 Sonnet agents and literally drain my entire subscription to make sure this works. Charles, but you are prompt injecting. Well, not according to Boris. So essentially, I'm coming down the bike lane. This is a metaphor for what happened on Friday. It's a metaphor. I'm coming down the bike lane. And on the bike lane, there is a guy turning around. And the guy turning around keeps on turning around, and I can't see the bend because it goes over a bridge, and I can't see under the bridge. If you see a cyclist and you're in a remote area, and he's turning around, and he's not pedaling, you're concerned about what he's looking at that you cannot see. We'll just say that from your time as a cyclist, or as my time as a cyclist. That's... Oh, don't tell me it just switched. What the hell is going on? What is going on? No, you're supposed to open in a new window, you dodo bird. This guy, behind him, is a guy in the gym everyone would be looking at because he's jacked. So this area is actually moving everything onto the Apple development. I've been working on this all morning. And it was going through everything. Should I scrap it? Should I not scrap it? What should I do? This guy coming around the bend, who I just barely see, he's on 2 flat pedals, and the guy looks like Donkey Kong. His lats are connected. He has no neck. That's the best way to say it. He looks like Ray Lewis in his prime. He's coming around, and he's got a very heavy into the wind, headwind. And he's going uphill, so he has a headwind going uphill, and he's got regular sneakers on. And I'm looking at this guy in the gym. This guy would be doing donuts around me. You know, he probably starts with 2 plates on either end. That's his warm-up. He's squatting 890 at 2 a.m. with one arm and barely awake. This guy's jacked out of his face. He's probably on an extra large bike, but it looks like a tricycle to me. And I was like, that's a perfect example of a guy. I am probably half his weight. I'm probably taller than him because that's how bodybuilders work. But this guy is willing to look like an idiot, an absolute imbecile publicly for the betterment of his potential development. What I mean is, if you want to, there's a great book out there called Going Pro. And I've read it probably 3 or 4 times. And in there, very short book, 150 pages. In there he says, if you want to go pro, you have to ship and you have to understand that in the creative environment, people do not succeed. He was in the writing a script for Hollywood and books and failed for 50 years. I think he was 55 years old when he just said, I got to go pro. And how you go pro is you got to ship. You got to show up every single day. I'm on a laptop. Nothing's working. Before it was restarting. It was asking for my Claude subscription still. On Friday, I looked like an absolute nobody. People are saying that guy in New York. Well, you know what we also went through? 9/11. Sandy. Financial crisis. COVID. Oh, it's never coming back. It's never coming back. In these janky towns outside in the middle of nowhere, we're all flying above, and I'm about to make fun of a lot of people, okay? Is the difference is that when you say that to somebody, they actually believe it. If you say that to New Yorker, they go, okay, perfect, bring it on. That's the difference. There is no tall poppy syndrome in New York City. That's the difference. Tall poppy syndrome are in the Baltics. They're in Australia. They're in Scandinavia. They're in small towns. When they make fun of you, when they come in, they go, why is this a thing? Brings it up. I love it. That New Yorker. That New Yorker. By the way. What the heck is going on? What are we creating? What are we creating? This is what they said in the comments. Especially if they are men from New York. You got to know to believe this. Joseph Steiner, 254. Joseph Steiner, 254. I don't know where you're from. But if you said that to your classmate of 98 people, you better believe that 97th person is going to believe it. But there's one guy that says, you know what, now. So you know what I said? This weekend I talked to my little plod. I said, plod, which is this little janky thing. I said, plod, Monday through Friday, you are going to come up with an artifact, which you're going to put into a blog post. And you're going to print it out or have it printable, PDF style, where people can print out how to step by step. What is a CLI? What is an MCP? What is a terminal? What is a subscription? You know what I noticed? I'm not competing with anyone else. That's what I noticed this weekend. I'm not competing with vibe coders at all. What I'm building is not for vibe coders. It's built for people that are more advanced than phone is ringing, unprofessional. You have vibe coders, which are on the left side. On the right side, you have people that are 9 to 5 that own restaurants. And then you have somewhere in between, which is like a real estate agent. They understand Squarespace. They understand MailChimp. They understand HTML a little bit. They understand they need to have their secure HTTPS instead of HTTP. Then they got to understand that they need to have their name servers in a certain domain. They got to point it somewhere. They have the basics, but they don't know how to connect things. That's the target audience. That's what we're going for. We're not going for the vibe coders. I was listening to one of the vibe coders over the weekend on my ride, 55 miles into a 3-mile run. And I go, I'm not competing with this guy. This guy is purely for vibe coders. This guy is purely for vibe coders. What I want to do is build out the the area where people understand that maybe WordPress is too complicated for them because they have all these plugins and they got to get an API here and they got to get a serial key here and they got to make sure they drag and drop and everything. No. That's most ADEs. What we're building is something where that is in the background, and on the front end is a clean UI. It's a clean user experience. Dare I say it's a lovable. Except the way that I'm going to make money, what I've noticed, is not through Vibe coders. I'm going to make my money through people who want to make money through this. Let me say that again. You have the platform. This is very important. You have the platform. Make sure this guy's still going. Okay. And I also had to create this. This is for the... Why is this not opening? Create the HTML guide. You have a platform. There's excellent books about this, by the way, that I read in my personal development era. My Taylor Swift era. You have a platform in which everyone makes money on top of it. It's the app store. That's the best way to say it. I want to create the app store without the apps. And the people are actually the apps. Let me say that again. You create the environment for people to make money. I'm not the app. I'm the app store. So people are going to come in here and they're going to say, I want to make money. I know that Charles's ADE is all inclusive of even an entire lifestyle, which I got a DM from our boy, Black Goku, who said, tell me about the whole, and obviously it unfortunately cut short, but it did cut short. But in here, Kimmy K was going after it, and then so this is the full checklist. I used this checklist. People are going to go in here and be like, okay, I got a calendar. I'm tracking my wealth. I got my drive. I got my workspace. That could be their website, whatever. You got a bunch of apps. This is admin for me. And then you got a community. That's what I noticed on the ride. The way the guys have been talking about it are talking to coders. My core audiences are not coders. The core audience who's going to buy this are people like Mark, who says, I'm in X town and I can now build Y for all those people. You're now building the platform that people can now build upon. What does that make you? There's seven levels of, and I know the chat is somewhere. There's 7 levels of making money. Boris just talked about this. Excellent interview. Highly recommend. He's with a male and female. I don't know the name of the podcast. I listened to it on my run on Sunday. Excellent. And first of all, we got to bring back this, all of these. So this is what I went into over the weekend. I said, you know what? I'm going to go into it. Let's close this out. And I'm going to spin up, and I did, a 20-page PDF document, and I'm just ripping through it. Give it to me visually. Okay, how are we going to build this? Okay, perfect. We understand that. How am I going to make it where the name servers automatically connect? Let's do this. Let's do this. The worst thing you could do, I need for every one of these options on the top menu to be showing on every page. As you can see on here, it shows, but when I go to the other screenshot, it does not. So if I go to today, this is what Kimmy K unfortunately did because it ran out of tokens, but it did look aesthetically better. Aesthetically, it did look better. 49 days sober, boys. It feels good. It is so hot down here. Analytics. Challenges. Let's send that out. Let's not use Sonnet. Even though that has been blowing through my tokens. that has been blowing through my tokens. All right. Live stream going to be more fire than last. Yeah, well, oh, by the way, yes, I had to vibe engineer. It is... So, by the way, the news right now is so funny. It is so funny to me. Because there... You know, I really thought about it. When you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're doing... over 3.5, you're doing 4 hours of exercise by yourself, and then the next day you do another 1.5 to 2 hours of exercise. So you do 60 miles on the bike and you do 8 miles on the run. You do almost 70 miles by yourself over 2 days. A lot of thinking happens. A lot of thinking happens. And this happens a lot. And what I noticed is Boris brought up Google, and it's a perfect example. Google, the way they make money is on the you can't go anywhere else because then you lose everything. I can't go away from Google for one reason. Because they have a custom domain name at their email. My work email goes to a Gmail style interface, but at my work email. Do you understand the moat in which you can build your business for Boatenston.com? For Boatenston.com, you have your custom website, your custom calendar, your custom docs, your custom email, your custom to-do list. You have people making money because now they're building out a MailChimp style and they put it into the app store. So in other words, oh my gosh, dude. That's right. It's my height. It's my height. Maybe with the hair, it's a little bit different. They got my Starbucks a little bit wrong. But in here, if you build a moat, you know what? I don't even need to go there. What if people like to read books and I'm doing a book? What if the browser gets to an agentic perplexity style? What if they need sign-ins for PDF? Screenshot is pretty easy. What if they want to film videos and it's really good and it's like Riverside.com right here, which I pay $150 a year? What if they want to go riding? And then obviously if they want to go coding, what if they want to host files and send it out? What if they want to actually do presentations? What if they want to do coaching, which is going to be built out? What if they want to go live? In other words, an ecosystem they can't move away from because they're already tied in to the life where their sleep comes in, everything comes in. By the way, we'll get to the news in a second as well. Two things I need from the... Oh my gosh. Hello, I need my screenshots. I need some screenshots, Charles. Let's send this over. One screenshot. 2 screenshots. Screenshots attached. I thought about it. Who is actually going to use this? And I'll go to the news because, again, I got to pop out. The people that are going to use this are twofold. People that actually are coding for other people and people who want to use it for themselves, but also like the other things that come with this ADE. Live Ride, Calendar, eSign. eSign, I'm spending, I think, $10 a month for DocHub. Riverside, whatever dollars a month. Squarespace, spend X amount of dollars per month. if you combine that, just like that old desktop image of what the iPhone can now do, you're taking away a lot of space, a lot of SaaS products from people's lives, and you're combining it into one. And you just open that, ideally, and obviously Orbit is crap, and it's going from Tari to, I might have deleted it. Yeah, I deleted it. But imagine you go in, it's like your desktop, and again, this is what Apple should have done. You have your desktop, you have a widget for your email, custom email, you have your calendar, you have your to-do list, maybe you have a checklist, maybe you have your sleep score, your workout. Then on the left side, you can go deeper into any of those. You can customize anything. And then you can go in on your cell phone as well and either code. And by the way, you know where it's going? It's going from right here to the glasses. The glasses, the thing with the glasses is I don't wear glasses. So my eyes, what I noticed when I went up and down, I noticed that my eyes had to adjust with another lens on top of my eyes. And I didn't want to mess with that. I did not want to mess with that. That is for a fact. Because once you start messing with that, now your eyes are getting in and out of focus unnaturally. I didn't like that. I tried on the Vanguards, which is the sport ones. They were a little tight on my big fat head. Vanguard. Oakley. Yeah, these guys. To be honest, excellent. I didn't even know that REI had them. Excellent for me potentially in the future when I'm creating content and I'm completely out of the closet as a content creator. We'll go over the news real quick while these guys are going in the background. So I signed up as a developer in Apple. That was holding me back a lot. So now I'm diving into that. I'm going deep in. Like, people are trying to make money. Kimmy was good, actually. I'm not going to lie. Kimmy was pretty good. But it was not for me. For now. It was a little slow. I did like how the critic brought in other critics. All right. We'll just go into the news real quick. I think that's pretty much it. But I do know that your glasses, I tried on the display, the Meta display, and they literally have a display. It was Google Glass, but now it's a display. Society's going to break into a bunch of different it's going to bifurcate. So bifurcate, obviously, is 2. I think it's going to trifurcate, where you have people that are against anything. They're going to be the losers. They're going to be the guys that sit there. They say the guy from New York, I can't believe it. He's going to be the guy that's yelling at Johnny Manziel in college while Johnny Manziel is just dropping dimes all over the place. Then he goes to the NFL and then not as well, but you could say that about a lot of players. If you're not shipping anything every single day, this is what I noticed. It's like working out. You atrophy. Your brain atrophies in creativity. All right, we'll go over this. I don't even know how they have their first earnings call already. Have they been live for a quarter? I don't think so. They've been live for a month on IPO. Obviously, losing $500 billion in market cap. Obviously, Morningstar had this correct. I kind of threw it out there, and then I was totally wrong. I thought it was worth about $1 billion, if not less. Obviously, it went down to 108. You have Zucks, who is probably paying for this because you have Reuters, New York Times, CNBC. These are all probably being... Let me bring up the chat for a second. Let's move this fella over. It's so weird to be doing this on one screen. You got to really squeeze that in. Nope. Don't minimize. Come on, get out of here. Where's the other one? Where's my other... Did it go? What? Oh my gosh. It's minimized. Nope. Here we go. All right. Where are you? Joseph Steiner is from New York. I don't even know who that is. Well, should we say AI? Should we say coding? There's probably a ton of Joseph Steiners in New York. Yes. Amir, what I mean is there is a... Have you checked the Idea Factory? I have not. We could bring up Mark's build. Much better, Mark. Look at this. Look at this. What's going on, Mark? Hold on. I think it's not going to work because I'm live. That's what I mean. Mark in the future can then go in, plug in, here's my idea, here's my website, into the IDE or ADE, plug it in, here's my website, make it better. Love it. Love to see it. I went to a Mexican restaurant. It's like I got into a fight with a cat. I got scratches all over the place because I was taking out a vine, a thorn vine. Okay, I don't recommend doing this without gloves and without long pants and without a long shirt. Okay, and with an electric bush cutter. I do not recommend it. I was bleeding all over the place. I don't recommend it, but I did it yesterday because I had to, and I didn't even fully do it. But I thought about it, and I'll move into the apps. When you have a platform, it's also there's legality behind it. If you are Facebook, you don't have an obligation to the users because you're not known as a publisher. This is legality. This is probably boring, it's not fun, it's not exciting, but this has everything to do with what I'm talking about. If you are a publisher, you are not legally bound to what people are saying in the comments section, what they are producing on videos and everything else. You obviously have to have guardrails and you have to have terms of service and you got to have all these things. So legally, if anything posts something that's out of line, out of pocket, you can take it down. You can say that has nothing to do. Those ideas do not reflect us. Obviously now they're completely airtight since COVID. So that's known as a publisher. Who is a publisher? Fox News, Washington Post, the New York Times, the New Yorker, people who have editorials, things like that. They are legally bound to what they publish on their website. So what Apple and all of these social media companies said, the apps that give you a bug, that spy on your software, that take all of your stuff and everything else, they are platforms. Why is this important? Because if you could build your business on a platform, you need the platform. You need the platform. That's what Google is. Google business has, I think, upwards of 800 million. I don't know, some crazy statistic. Let's find out. How many users are using Google Business or included in the Google realm that they are paying for? I think it's hundreds of millions. Give me an exact number. Google's got to search 350 paying subscribers. But if you include every user, it's got to be more than that. It's more than that because you're talking about users within the person who's actually paying for it. Say it is 350 million. You can't move 350 million people off of your platform easily. That's known as a moat. Okay, that you have essentially created a moat that people cannot get inside. For that gentleman Steiner, if he ever tuned in, probably not now because we haven't shipped anything. Or we haven't had people that have shipped something, so there are no testimonials, or there is nothing I've shipped from the ADE that I've already created, so I can't have a testimonial. But once you have marketing around Mark and you have marketing around someone else, and they're using not only the day-to-day and the ADE, and they're shipping things from there, and Mark is the moat for all of his clients, whoever he knows, the local hairstylist, the local attorney, the regional bank, whoever, the local library, because all their websites suck. Now Mark is the moat, and now I'm the moat to Mark. So essentially, I'm the moat to all of Mark. And it's the same thing with me, is that as a real estate agent, all of my clients are essentially moat is around Google Business because I'm using it. It essentially fans out. With an ADE for most people, the moat is that particular person where they can go anywhere. That's what is getting built, is something where they go, if I leave, yes, that person has a better ADE, but Charles, I got my email there. I kind of like that. I like his calendar. I like his to-do list. I like that we have the e-sign. I like that we have a community. I like that I can ride and talk crap. I like this virtual world in which he created, which we could talk about. In other words, this isn't Bridgemind where the man has made $250,000 in under a year. Unbelievable for him. He's probably made more because he's doing it ARR or AAR, annual recurring revenue, ARR. And the reason I'm saying all this is because I think there's going to be, from Boris's last interview that I listened to, I think there's going to be a major company that goes out of business. There's going to be a major company that goes out of business that nobody would have thought. And they are bleeding right now based on this one story that popped up, which is this. Okay? So most people, including myself, we could talk to the cows come home, whatever you want to say about that. Healthcare in the future is going to be the number one driver for money. And these companies, and by the way, most people are sick. You walk around, I was in a supermarket yesterday. Forgot the name of it. Stop and Shop. I was in a Stop and Shop yesterday. I looked around, to be honest, I didn't see one healthy person. I didn't see, of course I did, but I got to be honest, 80% of the people literally looked at like they were on multiple medications, and this is no hurt to them, but it kind of bothers me. Not gonna lie, kind of bothers me that they are being used, their bodies being used for profit. And I'm not saying this coming from like a everything should be given to them. It should be, why are they in this position in the first place? We need to ensure that we democratize, decentralize all of health. So we're looking at longevity instead of, oh, they have 15 years left. Let's murk them up, no pun intended, on 15, 20 medications. Let's do this. Go find the Botenstein.com/apps/ride area. Within the ride area, we're going to need to do a dive into the actual world in which we are creating. It is going to be a metaverse/Sims style virtual world that people can move around in. Currently, it's set up for biking, indoor biking, where they connect their indoor bike kicker through Bluetooth. I also want this world to be looked at as a incredible way for users to be able to experience a virtual world. Think of the best engine in which we should be doing this, and then the library in which we should be downloading the assets. So the engine, it could be Unity, it could be 3JS, whatever you think is the Unreal Engine. It could be whatever you think is the best long-term solution for hundreds of people to be walking around with modern assets downloaded to the library, in which they're walking around the trees, the benches, the park, the road, the houses, the inside, the interior, the exterior, the sky, everything. Number one. Number two is also look at the best method long-term that we are going to be creating our own asset library. Continuously. AstraZeneca. That's essentially what this story is about. This is stupid. You know what I noticed? Obviously, I tried OpenAI. And I think they just announced a new model, unless I'm wrong. Not a new model, but something different. Not Luna. There was something else in here. And I don't look at this anymore now as a software update. I thought that I would care more than I do about different models. Since last week, what I've noticed is I don't care. I don't care if it's, and to be honest, in the United States, Americans could care less if it's an American model. I thought about that on my ride, and I put it into my notes. Americans do not care if America has American models. American companies care if we have American models. The American government, I don't know where the hell they stand. I don't even know what the heck they're doing in DC besides making tons of money off our taxes. I don't think American people care less. How many accounts were created after Kimmy K3? Some remarkable. It was over 100 million accounts, including myself. I created one. I don't know what the Poly Market is, because, Poly Market, there's a little interesting backstory about how that company came to be. You can look into that in your spare time. This is what I'm talking about. Apple is so stupid right now to be literally caring about something that doesn't matter to most people. Why do I say this? What did Tim Cook care about? Tim Cook cared about shareholder price. Unfortunately, that is contrary in many cases to innovation. Because as Elon Musk has pointed out many times, when you innovate, you will lose money in that quarter. When you lose money and you don't hit expectations of Wall Street, your share price goes down. Maybe you don't, as Apple does. Apple hands out, obviously, a lot of dividends. They're known as it. They hand out tons of dividends. And they actually started saying, we're actually not going to hand out dividends. We're going to be buying back stock. The difference is when you innovate, just like I happened on Friday, things happen where things fail. Jeff Bezos famously said, you are starting every single day as day one. He had a chair at every single meeting, whether it's true or not, or an urban legend. He had a chair at every single meeting saying, hey, by the way, this is a customer. We have to think of them first. He had a 1998 or 1999 or 2000. He had that famous, every day is day one. There will be Amazon Fire phones, Amazon Fire tablets that totally fail. And then you'll hit an AWS moment. Apple needs to be focusing on having servers. They need to be focusing on having their own. They should have been buying Cursor. They should be poaching from NVIDIA, open source. They need to be poaching from all of these companies. Like, I truly do not understand why they just branded Siri as Siri AI and then they used Gemini. Makes no sense. To Google, it makes sense because they're obviously using now hundreds of millions of devices, your iPad, your computer, all the iPhones. You also have Safari. The default is Google. And most people, 88%, do not deviate against the default settings. That's a statistic. When I see something like this, and I'll go to the chat. I don't know why my chat's not up. I don't know where it went. Here we go. Have you checked it to the Idea Factory? Yes, ChatGPT. You'll be able to prompt with another person in Zoom like setting with streaming options. Yeah, you're going to prompt from your eyes. You're going to, that's what I noticed trying on the glasses. I went to Best Buy yesterday because I returned the other Meta glasses and I was going to pick up the Vanguards. I was like, this is where you're going to be coding. You know, my buddy just bought a Tesla. He bought it, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. We're in a group chat. My other friend replies, I just like to drive. Well, there might be a time where the government says it's unsafe to drive. For your own safety, cars are going to have to drive for you. Sorry, buddy. The guy literally sits in the driver's seat. He said the only time is in high congestion. He said he literally has not, and this is the problem. When you don't drive, you are not then good at driving. When I finally got back on my bike after almost a year of being off my bike, I was janky. I was like this live stream. Just jankster. And that's the thing is, I know this is more of a serious style, but this is the most consequential year of probably most people's existence, whether they know it or not, whether that they're at Bank of America or Home Depot. I said it last week. I was dealing with someone at Best Buy, and I was like, I wish this was a robot. The robot would have been nicer. The robot would have known where the inventory is. The robot would not have given me crap. I said, I ordered it ahead so no one else can order it. Don't you just take it off the shelf and then you put it behind the counter so then I can go and you can get it from behind the counter? Yeah, that's how it works. Oh, okay. So if it's not on the shelf, it's probably behind the counter. Can we check behind the counter? On our computer, it says that it's still processing. I said, I understand that, but I look at my bank account, you can see it right here that you charged me for the product. So if it's not on the shelf, it's probably behind there. 45 minutes later, after 6 yo-yos who are all on their cell phones and they're all Meta glasses, one of the guys goes, oh yeah, no, it's actually behind the counter. Oh, that's weird. That's weird using reasoning, logic, and deduction. And I know it's in an infinite, we'll do this. Make it easier. Yeah, the Idea Factory, if I were you, I would use that as the lead generating tool and just go to Lovable. I don't like the way that Lovable does it. I think Lovable should spin up a really crappy thing or even a decent thing, spend maybe 50 cents, 75 cents, even up to $1 of spinning up something. Then you got to log in. All right, so this is what it's saying. You know what I also wrote down? They gave me a lot. They said, here's your Agent CLI landscape for the native Mac ADE. Guess what I'm going to do with this? These 15 pages, I'm going to print out and read. To become a professional, you got to become a professional. You know, there's time for marketing, and then there's time for, okay, let's build something that actually works before going on there and spilling all the sauce, or while spilling all the sauce. Here we go. All right, so this is something that's going to be a pet project, a continuous pet project, where it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. People are going to barter. I trade this for that. You know, we can have fun still, right? Is not a greenfield decision. It's 11th out of 3DS World. Alone is, and World alone is 3,800. That's the second World Harbor. Harbor was terrible. Engine 3JS don't switch. Already shipped 2 Worlds. Yeah, the second one was trash. Self-authored asset pipeline, to be honest. You already built this. I didn't actually build this. Bottom line, the engine is settled. 3JS, your contract already says so. Unreal and Unity would trade away the browser, which is your product. The real assets are... So I think the best way to look at this is to scrap the ones that are not working. I really like the Ride. I think that has the most potential because that obviously has a working environment in which people can connect their indoor kicker. Now that it's going to be getting cold in the next 4 to 5 months, I'm going to be using that. In that, I'm going to want to connect my indoor kicker, but also once I'm done with actually exercising, I'm going to want to go around the actual world. Each person has their own house. We're going to have a marketplace. We're going to have different areas in which they can walk to. So we're going to have to wire in the assets within the library. If we don't have that, let's start in the order in which you recommend as the orchestrator. Use Fable as the orchestrator and only one Fable. If you want to spin up or spawn other agents, use the ones that are ideal for whatever they are going to be doing. No more, no less than their capability. Minimize the amount of Opus agents spun up. If we are using 3JS, let's work on that same world. Let's bring in the assets, make sure everything is downloaded, make sure it's all wired, and come up with the clear objective in the next steps in which you recommend. You know what Boris said? Boris, in his, he was interviewed, he said to delete the Claude or memory markdown file is one of them. And it aghasted the audience. He made it up because the entire audience got a 200 or a 20x max subscription, everyone in the audience. You know what he also said? He said, stop being so specific in your plans. Just say, this is what my objective is. Boris, the founder of Claude Code, said something recently about deleting a markdown file that everyone has had in their actual build. Was it the memory markdown file or the Claude markdown file? Find out which one he said. It was within the last week of being published on YouTube. Yeah, so they're going away from that. That's stupid. What did I say? What did I say? The United States, I was online yesterday at the Stop and Shop, and the guy behind me was just, teaming about how much money it is to fill up the tank of gas. He said, oh, it's crazy. The amount of money that I spend now only does half a tank instead of a full tank. I extrapolated that. I said this about a month ago. You can go back into any of them, which I do not recommend because they're probably boring and not worth your time. However, I said this, and it has nothing to do with this. It has nothing to do with this. This is the problem, is in today's news, they want to put the problem where there's no causation. It has nothing to do with COVID-19. 2 years ago, there was an explosion of travel. Last year, there was an explosion of travel. Just look at ticket prices, airports, New York City. Look at everything. Everyone was going to Europe. Everyone was traveling. Everyone was going to conferences. Everyone was getting into their cars, Why does it fall to the lowest? Oh, they're saying following. Okay. Let's see what they blame it on. Well, they're right with one. They're right with another. Maybe the headaches. I don't know. By the way, this very interesting. I forgot to bring this up. Look at this. Look what they're doing. Look what they're doing. Look what they are doing. Very unexpected. So they said it's going to start, if you want to own it, at $2,000. But they also said that you can... They don't say it here. Let's see if they say it. You can rent it. You can rent it. They don't say it here. But in the Perplexity headline, it said you can rent it. You can rent your phones now. You can rent your cars now. You can rent your houses now. You know? Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there. You know? Nothing crazy. Joining the China side. Yeah, Quinn just came out with something. Obviously, that is... Here we go with the infinite loop. Driving is crazy to me. Also, you're free to cancel. I sent you 2 use. Basically, what this guy was talking about was my brainstorming skill. What Boris said is that he's been doing it for weeks. Literally, you own nothing. Yeah, well... There was someone that said something very interesting. When you get prices high enough, then it kind of deflates you because you're not experiencing new things. And the problem with this thing is that it's very hard for you to experience new things. And that's why I am not bullish on people that are on X putting out how much money they make, how much money. Yeah, like, of course, when this starts taking off, and money starts coming in, whether it's a monthly thing, a one-time subscription, I have no idea how I'm going to price it. But once I get to a point where I now have a working product and the Life OS is working, and now I am bringing in people and coding for them, and they have their own back end, and they go, oh wow, actually this is great. Not only do I have my website here, I connected my Oura Ring, I connected my Garmin, I connected my workout, I have my Todd AI, I have all these other things which I talked about before. What is keeping someone there? What is keeping someone there? Why did the meat guy, whatever his name was, go continuously viral, knowing that the guy clearly is not that, that physique is not from just eating meat. Liver King. Why did that guy continuously go viral for months, knowing that he lived in a huge place, he put out whatever he did, he had a wife and kids. I have no idea what he's doing now. But he was the marketing. Then you have people have an amazing product who do no marketing, like Craigslist. The issue with Craigslist is that you can now make Craigslist attractive aesthetically. But Craigslist is like Facebook Marketplace or any of these eBay. eBay is making more money than they have in a while because people are now doing secondhand stuff. They don't need the marketing. Okay? Amazon doesn't need the marketing. Where was I yesterday? And they had a huge thing brought to you by, and it's a company that everyone's already, it was like Coca-Cola or Nike or something like that. Of course, the big dogs are going to remain the big dogs. What I'm getting at is there has to be inspiration of authenticity behind the movement. That's why Liver King went away. That's why Joe Rogan's not as successful. That's why a lot of these podcasters aren't as successful, because they noticed stuff was rented. Or maybe the person was making up how much money they were making per month. Or maybe they were doing ads and not saying they're ads. Or maybe getting paid for products that they didn't actually use. Or they were pumping and dumping, as it was 3 years ago, a coin or something like that. You know, I have a lot to say on that. That's for sure. Does this mean that every single menu option has every other menu option? Very important that we have this as people are utilizing this. We also need to do a visual pass on the original screenshot to make them on the today be brought in with, let's just do that. And the problem with Kimmy K is it wiped out my today. It didn't aesthetically look good, but it wiped out my today, which I wasn't happy about. Confirmed I need to correct myself earlier, describe 56 meg source of PNGs. Complete full architecture, 4 agents, 0 Opus. You can use Opus, it's just Opus sucks. You know, I said in a reply comment, honestly, I think the peak was the beginning part of Opus 4.8, not the back end of 4.8, and definitely not 5. Fable was great until they started to guardrail it, until the government came in and said all their nonsense. No. What I need you to do is look at the actual visual. I don't want you to look at the code. I want you to look at the visual and tell me what you like about any of the items in which you view the person walking around. If you were unable to spin up the actual visualization of this, then tell me, because it looks terrible and like AI slop. Dude, their Sunset Harbor is trash. Yeah, I'm finally, he got exposed for it. But in today's world is, okay, so every single one of these should be, oh yeah, by the way, this is funny. So this is when I logged into Claude. Claude launched their own spreadsheets. It's funny coming off of the interview of Boris when the guy says all of these companies are worried about you taking their law firm and their financial and their trading and their health and their processes and all of their documents and then creating your own venture capital. I'm like, dude, he's making way more money being a frontier model, but that actually sounds really good. And then they launch their own sheets. They launched their own sheets. Yeah, this is not good, that entire thing. All of the tabs at the top should have a component on the today location, and they each must be around the size of a box. They must be real, pulled in dynamically from each of the tabs. So it has everything to do with today. If there is a calendar, it's today. If there's a checklist, it's today. If there is a to-do, it's only today. If there's a sleep score, it pulls it in. If there's a workout, it pulls it in. If there is a wealth number, it pulls it in, but it blurs the actual number because we are live streaming. In other words, the today is a snapshot of all of the tabs. It is very clean, it's simplistic, it's minimalistic, it's modern. Very important that you spin up an agent to visually go through this. Do not come back until it actually is visually appealing based on a model who actually screenshots it. You know what? One thing that I did not like, and honest verdict, here we go. Holy cow. You know what? This is what bothers me. I got to go in and where is, doesn't even have it. Orbit, Strava, Live Ride, doesn't even have Harbor. Let's see if it has Harbor. Harbor. Look how trash this is. What the hell do you want me to do here? What do you want me to do here? Why is this the thing's house right there? It's underwater. He needs insurance. Look at this trash. The card room? What is this, gambling? 66 meters? What is this, Europe? Oh my gosh. Oh, this is my house. This is my house. Oh boy. Look at this. Well, the forehead, the size of my forehead is accurate. I think I got better shoulders though. You know, this is more of a barrel chest. This is what Liver King looks like if he does not do steroids. He's got the barrel chest. Allegedly, my opinion. Holy cow. He's getting sued. Let's do that. That's part of the learn how to put in quality games and assets on one-shots. Look those up and print out a 20-page PDF. That's what I mean. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do one last screenshot because this is disgusting. If this says it's fine, then I'm taking it out back. In a score out of 10, give me what you think this looks like visually. That's the whole thing is. So I just sent it to my watch. I'm going to learn. I learned already last week I have to pick an engine. I have to pick the assets. I have to download the assets. And if you want to make your own assets, about $400 to $600, whether that's accurate or not. And then now you have the ability potentially in the future for other people who use the ADE to spin up their own world or their own website for their own clients. And who's to say you don't white label this? I thought about actually outsourcing it, but then you're like WordPress, and it just turns into trash and millions of other different things. We'll go down the news. I do have to leave soon. Oracle founder lost $24 billion. By the way, when people see this, they think he actually lost $24 billion. It's $24 billion in stock. It's $24 billion in valuation. It's not that he actually, maybe the company in which he invested in or money or things like that. Larry Ellison is fine. He has $168 billion. Okay? He's fine. It's not a big deal. And to be honest, he is invested long term. Again, got to keep those powers to be. Very interesting article, whether it's accurate or not. You have KPMG, obviously very big business times. I don't know who CFO Tech, I don't know who that is, and I don't know who IT Brief is. But I actually heard this from someone who is in business where they actually said they're going to go after what they have built. Or, I'm sorry, what they are, I think it's their probability or their potential of building. You know how you look at someone's potential to analyze data, to make right decisions if you're going into M&A, mergers and acquisitions, or you're going into venture capital, you're going to private equity, you're becoming whatever. The ability, it's like how a woman chooses a man. His potential over the course of employment, or for her over the course of marriage. It's the same thing here. It's prompt engineering. There was another guy that I was listening to. He was on Greg Eisenberg's show. I forgot his name. And he came in. There's essentially in New York a very popular, here we go, an 8 out of 10. So you think those graphics are an 8 out of 10? You just challenge it. Just challenge it. Did you actually look at it? What would you say is a 10 out of 10 then? No, those graphics are a 3.5. That's what I scored it. Where'd you say 3.5? Oh, okay. Wonderful. How do we make this an 8 out of 10? Think about a step-by-step objective guide to making this an 8 out of 10. Personally, I would rather do the apps/ride than doing this in a dot. You know what? We need to be focused on boatenston.com/apps/ride. This apps harbor is terrible. It's below any expectations that I have. That it should be scrapped and deleted. And we need to be focusing on only one area known as Harbor Estates, and that is /apps/ride right now. In one sentence or less, 10 words or less, send out agents so you come back with an actual objective plan to work on boatenston.com/apps/ride and not boatenston.com/apps/harbor. /harbor needs to be blown up, completely deleted, nowhere near my eyeballs, and anything else that is nothing to do with boatenston.com/apps/ride need to be away from the memory or anything we're talking about going into the future. Yeah, we need to focus on how to make very good games, very good assets, own the assets, own the library long term. All right, we'll go over the last news and then I gotta skedat. But best you know, I'm gonna be coding in a car with remote Wi-Fi. By the way, well, I wouldn't say allegedly. Allegedly, when you see things like this, it is, by the way, this is not someone you should well, I won't say anything about it. But when you have somebody that's continuously going in public and talking about stocks and bonds and everything else, do not take it with anything more than salt. There's so much going on that needs to be... What? 67% of its value in July? They sold it to Citadel in a fire sale? Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Hold on. He married... What? That's like page 6 kind of nonsense in my eyes. All right, let's get that away. We'll leave it on what you guys are saying. 10 people using my ADE at the moment. There you go. Yeah, I'm thinking of just switching fully to OpenAI. I thought about that a while. What are the actual models that should be used for A, anything, or B, everything? And that's the thing is, an ADE is as good as, obviously, you, the developer, but the arena in which somebody can go get a client, secure the client, build whatever's needed for the client, satisfy the client, service the client, and then be happy over a long period of time is very different than someone who builds or secures a listing. That's the best way to say it is, if someone secures a listing, that doesn't mean the listing sold. That doesn't mean the client is happy. That doesn't mean they found a buyer. That doesn't mean that it gets the price that the owner wants. It doesn't mean that the owner at the end of the sale is excited. The way that I look at it is I see ADEs and IDEs based on this weekend, and I you know, after a 3.5 hour, I listened to it at 2.5x speed. So you're looking at 8 hours of content. I listened to at least 10 hours of content. If you include Sunday, 10 to 11 to 12 hours of content, no joke. And I go, that's a different realm. Brooks is not well known unless you're a runner. ASICs is very specific. I'm wearing ASICs right now, but I run in Brooks, and I'll never buy Nike, and I'll never buy Adidas, and I'll never buy many other brands. And that's the way that I look at it is, the ADE is as valuable as the person or people that use it to make money and or service people who don't know how to use the ADE, which is almost 100% of society. That's the way that I look at it, is ADEs are like, most people don't even know how to set up a name server. Most people don't know HTML at the most basic level. Almost 100% of the people. They're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they are obsessed with social media, they're not reading a book, they are listening to Fox and CNN, they are listening to CNBC and Fox Business, they don't know how to decipher the news, they go to their job, they want to get paid. Case in point, I'll leave it on this. Literally, I have to go because I have to be somewhere. Case in point, take this way more than a grain of salt. The law labor union, or the law whatever, does not want self-driving cars. Because if you have self-driving cars, you don't have accidents. And if you don't have accidents, you don't have people going sent to the hospital and dying. So they would rather, because A equals B, B equals C, so if you don't have people dying and people getting hurt in wrecks and crashing, they do not make money. A equals B and B equals C. This is logic reasoning. If most people do not understand, or if most people are paying attention to social media and the latest trend and sports and gambling, and they're just showing up to their business, and they hear that a self-driving car, because they're at a ambulance chasing personal injury law firm, and I have a very good client, a very close friend of mine, or not friend, but he's a very close client who owns a very large firm, not very large, it's very well known, I should say. Very well known, very respected firm in New York City, and he's done very well for himself. If he doesn't, and he doesn't focus on car accidents, but if car accidents, so what about the accountants? What about the mechanical engineers of a car when Tesla comes out with a 1/10 of the amount of mechanical parts? What about engines? You know, everyone is getting disrupted. What about the people that were driving trucks? There's a guy, one of the largest truck, not labor, what are they called? Whatever. Conglomeration, but it's not labor, of truck drivers. He can't get enough people to drive trucks. He would gladly have a self-driving truck. And then they arrive at the port, they arrive at the docking station, and then a human takes over. But to go from A to B, you don't need a human anymore. It pulls in, it plugs it in, it goes on its way. Or maybe it goes from one to another dock and then to another dock. It transports out the cab, it brings in a new cab, fresh battery, and it continues on its way. This is where we're heading. But we're going to have a lot of pushback, that's for sure. That's for sure. All right, well, we'll do, we just screenshotted Sol high into text, Sol medium just for coding, and Luna for subagents. There we go. Saved. We got to put this into a browser, and we'll go into here. We'll go into here. We'll do that. All right, it's saved. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. I had the day off from working out. My body said I did not have good rest. It said you got to take time off. My heart rate was a little bit higher than normal, so I got to rest. So I had today off. Tomorrow we're going to be back doing intervals on the treadmill. 90 seconds on, 90 seconds off probably. Already thought about it. Wednesday we're going to be swimming 2,000 yards. Friday swimming 2,000 yards. Sunday everything's good. We're now doing a build into into an area which you then chill so the body can absorb all of the building that you've been doing. And then you go back into building more, and then you got the race. Up until that time, keep the doubts coming. I don't care. But, all right, I got to pop out. The janky stream is over. No janky streams again. And your boy's now in the Apple development